but as their publisher, if I was IOI, I would go. There's a lot of eyes in that sentence.
Hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel. We're a podcast about video games, anime, entertainment, life, a little bit of everything in between. I'm your host, as always, Joe, and with me, the indie developer of the documentary Two Nicks, One Taco. Hey Nick, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good. Yeah, it's production was very tough, but we did manage to get through it. Um, and I sent the other Nick back to his parallel dimension. There's probably going to be a lawsuit pending, but that's neither here nor there. And yeah, so I think we'll probably debut at Cannes um, this year. Uh, so that'll be nice. Hopefully, for this movie, this time they won't relegate us to outside, quote, outside of the festival. Um, but yeah, so that's what I'm looking forward to right now.
If I remember correctly, the working title to that one was originally Two Nicks and One Burrito, but I mean, that made more sense at the time with the story supposed to be the whole parallel universe and Warp Burrito. But yeah,
Well,
so what
that
happened there?
that name was actually taken already. That was already taken. Surprisingly, yeah, somebody had already reserved that, and we tried. We actually tried to buy them out, but they wanted a lot of money. And by a lot, like they wanted more than it was worth. And by that, I mean like they wanted literally $8. And so I was like, I'm not. No, it's not worth that. Tacos are basically burritos, just a little bit more cooked on some regards and less cooked in other regards.
All right. Well, good luck to you. And dude, trying to play that one straight was really funny. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so some real news now, guys. Yeah, we have a bit of news. Nintendo recently did a was that partner direct? So
Yes.
let's just roll right into that, Nick. What do you got for us?
Yeah. So this is a partner direct just came out. I'm just going to run through some of the highlights. There's quite a bit, probably twice as much as I have listed here. More that's just sort of filler. It's just stuff that's either been released before on other platforms and it's just now coming to Switch 2, or it's just not very good. But what is here? There's some stuff that's kind of interesting. What they lead with is a game called Orbitals, which we already saw a little bit of at some other Nintendo Direct thing or something or other. And this is a co-op, uh, like sci-fi platforming shooter sort of type game. It has an interesting art style. It looks like an '80s anime, like an '80s anime, but one you can actually play. So but like it does look really good for that. Like it does. It's definitely like a digital like it's definitely done through like a digital model and stuff like that. But it does look pretty close to the era of anime that it's replicating. So it's pretty cool. Like I like the aesthetic definitely got me like right away, and I'm excited for this game um, to maybe play it like one of these days. But yeah, they decided to lead the partner direct with this seemingly because it's probably the strongest thing on here. At least
Yeah, without a doubt. I thought so too. I mean, it does look really good. It's right up my alley as far as the aesthetics goes. Gameplay wise, I mean, they essentially just are ripping off was that Hazelight Studios for It Takes Two and Split Fiction. Uh,
mm,
so it plays just like those games for the most part, but it probably has a much better story. So I'm on board.
yeah, I don't know how this is gonna like. I think the main draw for this is the aesthetic, which that is what I'm in for, just on the front. So if everything else is just kind of been done before type gameplay, then I'm okay with that. Maybe for the next one they can iterate and make it more different or whatever. But anyway, so they pop up with that kind of show that, and they say that you only have to have it on one Switch 2 system. We're still not totally clear on whether or not you can actually play it on a secondary Switch 1, but it's so that's kind of up in the air. But what they show in the actual trailer for this is a little bit misleading, because they do show a Switch 2 that it's playing on, and then they put that to the side and they show what is clearly a Switch 1. At least I'm pretty sure that it is a Switch 1, and I have looked at this again, and it seems that's to be the case to me. And they show it doing like I think they call it like a, what do they call it? Game Pass, or it's not Game Pass, but it's some kind of gameplay mirroring type of thing. So that's the only way I could figure that it's being played on a Switch 1 is through like literal like game mirroring. Anyway, that if that's true, and even if you do have to, play it on a Switch 2 or whatever, the fact that you only have to have one copy of the game in order to play it co-op is it's become the norm, but you never know when people are going to forget to do that. So it's good that they decided to do that.
Yeah, no, without a doubt, the what they show is a Switch One. I mean, it has it's the between the Joy Cons being the solid red and blue. Uh, the It's misleading because at the very end it strictly says uh, like only Switch Two. All the other information we looked up couldn't find anything to clarify it. So with any luck, it makes a lot of sense if they were to release it on Switch 2 and then at least be able to have someone, because anyone who upgrades, like no one wants to buy a second two right out the gate. But if you happen to have a Switch 1 and you upgraded to Switch 2, then player 2 can be another household member, and that would work really well. I believe other games have done that, something similar where they've done uh, I actually believe It Takes Two did that as well. Uh, and Split Fiction, where they have like the shared pass kind of second screen experience, which is cool. That's the way it should be. If you're making a two-player game, don't bend people's arms or in order to play a second one. Uh, it's If it's meant to be played a two-player, set it up this way. That way, you're guaranteed that someone's gonna have a good time. But yeah, the gameplay itself looks solid. The animation looks, all the graphics look great. It does totally look, it makes me feel old because it's like
Mm.
this is how you always want it to play. Like this looks exactly how you kind of imagine. Dragon Ball's done this to a good extent, and other games as well. But it's like to have the 3D rendering, but look straight up like the anime that you want.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid watching anime, my fantasy was always, what if a game could look like this? You could like literally play this anime as a game. And now we're almost there, 30 years later or whatever. But it's not quite perfect, because it is a little, there is some stuff kind of lost in translation with what they have to do, but it's we are close to living the dream. We're very close. Next up, game called Paranormasight, The Mermaid's Curse. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, for Orbitals real quick, planned to be released summer of 2026. Okay, so back to Paranormasight, The Mermaid's Curse. Uh, this game is like a detective game. It's mostly seems to be mostly like text and audio based, with where you're kind of going around a town, talking to people, asking questions, and trying to figure out clues and stuff like that. Seems to be a little bit of I want to say like rudimentary, like underwater gameplay, So not too much like action, but definitely like a detective game. Um, looks kind of old, I got to be honest, but looks all right. And that's planned for February release February 19th, 2026. So coming right up.
Yeah, it's a rough way to start your second game in where you're just having text that the person is supposed to read. I mean, you could at least have it voice worked is kind of the way I think. It's just like, especially since a lot of people are second screening this or watching it on their phone, and then you're supposed to have them read the small text coming in from the narration in the beginning.
Yeah.
Uh, I thought that was a poor choice. Nowadays, you should have most of these text-based games be fully voiced. Um, I
So
don't think it's asking too much.
I know everybody hates
Go on.
AI. Yeah, so like
Mhm.
I know everybody hates AI, but I feel like this is where AI voice can really come in to help tiny studios with literally no money. It's like they're they're taking our jobs with this AI, and it's like look at a game like this that you know uh and I mean that has no voice, or at least not a lot of voice acting, if any voice acting, or other games that like have like no voice acting that we're never going to have it because they just cannot afford it. I mean, that to me is where like AI, decent, halfway decent AI voice acting can, kind of help, even if it's not good, even if it's not really anything to write home about, if it's just like sort of there almost to help like the visually impaired maybe, then I think it can go a long way to making a game a bit better. But, you know,
Yeah, this game also, I prefer games like this. As far as it reminds me of Hotel Dusk,
mm,
on the DS, or also on the DS, Trace Memory, later brought to the Switch as Another Code.
mhm.
They bundled that the 1 and 2 together. So those games were a lot of fun. I do like a good adventure game, and I'm actually happy that they're making things like this still. Uh, it's not the most popular thing, but if it's, done well enough and has a really, interesting story, I think they're a lot of fun. It's kinda like, uh, the Phoenix Wrights and stuff like that. It's just those games, uh, they fill a niche that, that isn't really around too much, but it's nice to have alternative, to just different kinds of games for people to play and enjoy. So, I'm happy about this, but at the same time, I don't have a Switch too, so, meh.
So you don't have to care. Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. This one doesn't really. It's not. It doesn't seem bad or anything. It just doesn't seem like it's going to beat out a lot of the other stuff that's coming out. Um, around the end of February. Um, so next up, Tokyo Scramble. So I described this as Alien Isolation, but dinosaurs. Because you're a girl who's trying to make her way through a ruined, destroyed Tokyo, and there are, I call them dinosaurs, but they just kind of look like dinosaurs that have like also have like magical energy powers or something. You can't fight, you can't kill. Well, you kind of can kill them, it seems like, but you can't like fight them directly. And your job in the game is to, the goal of the game is just to kind of sneak past and or kill them by using like environmental means in order to do that. So but it looks okay. I mean, it looks different than most games you see these days. And it's planned to come out February 11th, 20. What?
I said it looks old. It just it reminds me, and due to the graphics and the quality, it reminded me of like Outlast, or the gameplay, like between Outlast and Amnesia, where you're just supposed to hide in lockers and run around and
Oh
evade.
yeah.
They do show offensive powers, like you can turn on like a crane or something like that, like an excavator, spin it around, and so you could set environmental traps. Essentially, is what it is.
Yeah.
Uh, which, hey, once again, I just talked about having fun, different kinds of gameplay, so that's not really your norm, and, it's kinda neat that they're making this, if it looks better, that'd be kinda be great. I'd probably prefer playing on the like PC or a different platform.
Yeah, for games like this, it's like it's kind of a simple gameplay. I mean, maybe it gets more complex when you actually get into it, but kind of simple. That's not really the game is not really asking doesn't seem to be asking you to do too much. It doesn't seem to be asking like the engine to do too much. Where a game like this would do better, I think, is to have the visuals like really pop and look cool and look really like Unreal Engine 5, to the max or whatever. But, it's on Switch 2, so that's just going to be the running through line through all of this is just it either looks old in a good way or it looks old in a bad way. That's the Nintendo Switch 2, you know. But yeah, so planned for February 11th, 2026. So that's coming right up. Um, Next up, The Adventures of Elliot, The Millennium Tales. Um, Looks like Octopath Traveler doesn't seem to be related to Octopath or to Bravely Default, though it is.
It's being developed by Team Asano, which and was it Claytech Works, which they did. They're working under Square Enix, but Team Asano did do Octopath.
Right. So you can tell it's the same developers, but I was looking around and I couldn't find anything where it said this is a spin-off or this is a sequel to either one of
Oh
those
no,
games.
it's just them doing what they do well, and that's this kind of game.
Right. Okay. That actually has me more interested in it because um I did not because I never played Octopath, either 1 or 0, or is there an Octopath? There's an Octopath Traveler too. Yeah, I didn't play any of the Octopath Travelers. I didn't play any of the Bravely Defaults, but I've always heard pretty good things about them. I didn't like Triangle Strategy, um, but I do feel like I want to give this 2.5 tilt shift D kind of game another chance. So if and when I do get a Switch 2, this might be something that I try to do it with.
Well, being Square, it'll probably come out to other things in the future, at
That's
least
true too.
PC. Uh, yeah, the big takeaway from this is, well, I remember this game being announced before, but not really paying too much attention to it. On this one, they talk a little bit more about it, and it feels like it's kind of going off of a Chrono Trigger vibe, where you're in the same kingdom, but
Mhm.
through different eras, and then you can grab different magic and different abilities throughout the times,
Okay.
which makes a little more sense. So, I mean, that's kind of a cool thing. If it's done well, it'll be really neat. The theory of like being able to do something in the past affecting the outcome later on. That was always fun to see in like Chrono Trigger. You plant a tree in the desert, and then way in the future, it's a lush forest, that type of deal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm kind of curious. This had me more interested than it did the first time around. I mean, the first time I'm like, yeah, it looks good, but now this talking a little bit more about it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is seems like it's going to be a lot more potential than I originally thought.
Yeah. Yeah. So it does look kind of good. It's planned release for June 18th, 2026. So that'll be this summer. Next up is t- Turok Origins, planned for fall 2026. This is a Turok game, um, third person shooter, and yeah, shooting dinosaurs. Um, Looks pretty okay. I don't know, like it doesn't. There's nothing about it that's really grabbing me, but it also doesn't look bad somehow. I don't know. Did you see anything about this?
I didn't care at all. I'm not a big Turk fan. Uh, the fact that when they announced this, I'm like, who is this for? The people who were kids when this came around are going to be in their mid to late 30s or in their 40s plus now. So you know this is for grandpa who wants to get the young kids into Turok. I mean, I found it weird.
I
It's just
mean,
like sometimes you should maybe just retire an IP because I remember the last Turok game or 2 or the last attempts didn't move the needle. So I'm not really sure why they're doing this.
yeah, like it's been kind of a dead franchise for a long time, and I don't think that you bring back a franchise like this with a sort of a lackluster, I don't want to say lackluster, but just sort of a normal showing. Like Turok Origins, this feels like a game that, so the name should be used on a bigger, like we're bringing it back, we're making it crazy good again, type of Turok game. But the actual gameplay just just looks pretty ho hum. It just feels like whose money are you trying to get? Because you're not really you're not really wowing new players or old players with this. So it doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look all that great. So it is sort of just like, okay, cool. But yeah,
Yeah, once again, I just found it weird. I think I feel like that's a lot of this showcase was bringing in things for nostalgic sake or like like we're gonna port these over because we can, and so it was kind of lackluster. I mean, right before this, they did mention like Pragmata, and nothing really new about that. It's just the same old kind of stuff.
it's like,
At
hey,
least I didn't
remember
catch
this?
anything.
This is coming to our system too.
Yeah, I'm like, it
Yeah,
still looks good, and I'm still enjoyable. But once again, it's like it's a lot of it's like, hey, I guess I'm happy for those who only have a Switch 2, and I think that's the kind of key takeaway is like, hey, not everyone can afford to have multiple systems, and especially at Nintendo's $80 price point for games, maybe you can't afford a lot of these other games, so some of these other games will be cheaper, uh, and will drop
yeah,
prices. So
yeah. I just wonder. I would really like to see the numbers on how many people really don't have a PC, Xbox, PlayStation, and they only have like a Switch 2 and a Switch 1. Like, I can only imagine that that would be like sort of younger kids, but it just seems strange to me. Like, I just would like to see the numbers on that. But I mean, like, sometimes you don't get around to games and then you have a Switch 2 and you're like, oh, yeah, this game's coming out on Switch 2. Yeah, I never played that on the thing, but I have a bus ride that I have to take every day, or I have a train ride or whatever, or I have to go to my, like, go to my relative's house for a long weekend and I'm going to be really bored. Oh, I'll have this game and bring it with me. I guess there's probably a lot of use cases for stuff like that, but yeah, it's just sort of weird. Yeah, so that's planned for fall of this year. And then next up, a game called Kyoto Xanadu. This is an action role playing game, partly 2D. I think, and the bosses are like go into like a 3D sort of space. Uh, I didn't know about this series, but apparently there was a Tokyo Xanadu that came out a while ago. Um, yeah, it seems it's like a J action role playing game. It's very like anime styled, looks kind of flashy, but not too much more to write home about, but looks okay.
there seems to be some sort of classroom like leveling thing too in the story mode. They showed like a flashing of cards and saying like, like PE or practicing soccer helps increase certain stats or something like that. So
Sort of like a persona
I'm not
type
really
thing going on.
yeah, which if it has something like that, that'd be kind of fun. They show like in-game text messaging going on. So there happens to be more there's some they showed like running through the town, but being like side scrolling and very much like a Persona game. You have calendar, date and in the top corner. So I'm kind of, it's just I didn't really know much about the series as well. I knew about Tokyo Xanadu, but only by name. I mean, it's by was it Falcom, which has been around
Mhm.
forever. So
Yeah.
hopefully it's good.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I hope it ends up being all right. And then lastly, they just kind of have some different announcements. And sort of the last three or so announcements are that Resident Evil Requiem, Indiana Jones, and the Great Circle, and then Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion remake are all coming to Switch too. So if you didn't play those on something else or don't plan to, then you can get them on Switch too. So they're just kind of just showing, hey, we're getting more games, we're getting more games. Um, Mostly stuff that you either have already played or never really wanted to play anyway, but the library is growing. So we're still waiting on the big drops from Nintendo. I feel like they've got to announce something by the summer, right? They've got to have a gigantic announcement of at least one gigantic game by late spring summer, right? Am I crazy?
I think you have too much faith in them. I mean, to reiterate what I mentioned before about them trying to just bring things to the Switch 2 for people who've never had a different system.
Yeah.
Uh, so we skipped over a lot of games. Real quick, I'm just going to run through a lot of the ones that we missed, just because we didn't find them interesting enough, or they've already been talked to death elsewhere. But all right, here he goes. Captain Tsubasa 2, World Fighters, which is a soccer game. Anime, soccer, ridiculousness, based off old classic anime. Most Western audiences don't care, but it's silly and fun in its own unique way. Uh, Valheim, the survival game that should run no problem on a Switch, uh, or Switch 2. But that was like a hotness of I don't know how many years ago now. So it's way late to the game. But hey, if you don't have any other system and you have some friends you want to play a survival game with, good, go for it. Uh, football kickoff. Okay. Then we have they're bringing Super Bomberman collection, a bunch of Bombermans that were never ported over to the to any other region. There you go. You have a whole collection of them. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, because now you can play Final Fantasy on the Switch too. You have see Digimon Story, Time Strangers. That is, a solid Digimon game for all intents and purposes, and
Yeah, I heard
now
that
it's going to be
too.
on Switch. Grand Blue Fantasy, Relink, Endless Ragnarok. So a lot of people seem to like that Grand Blue game. Now you can play it on the Switch too. Monster Hunter Stories 3, Twisted Reflection. The story series have always been uh, more kid friendly. And let's see, you have console archives and arcade archives 2. So just a bunch of mini games or older games, I should say, not really mini games, but classic arcade games. Scott Pilgrim EX, uh, a classic game, but once again, it's just weird that these are the things that they're leading with a partner direct. Let's see, another Eden begins Nintendo Switch 2 edition. I honestly don't remember this one. Uh, they talked about Reanimal, which is coming out of Friday the 13th of February.
Mhm.
So it's coming up close. A WWE game 2K26. I honestly forgot that they showed this. They're doing a Star Trek Voyager game. I literally just didn't. I blacked out on this one. I don't remember. Uh, Disney Dreamlight Valley, which is the Nintendo Switch 2 edition, which is like the Miiverse or something. Like it's essentially just uh, I don't know. It's not for me. So PGA Tour 2K25. It's a game on all the other systems, so now it's on this one too. Uh, Culticept begins. It's Switch 2 edition, like the Goat Simulator 3. We've all been clamoring for on the Switch. Shadow Tactics, Blaze of the Shogun,
Is that
a
game like
classic. Yes, that game is old as crud, but it's like it keeps on coming out. It's still amazing, but like no one knows about this game. no one's gonna come up and be like, "I need to play this on the Switch." Chances are, if you're really into this game, you probably have a different handheld that you're playing it on. I mean, it's
You
I
this game has been free many times, I'm pretty sure. Like it's
oh,
been
yes.
given out on like Epic, and I think I'm pretty sure I own it, and I'm pretty sure I never paid for it. But yeah,
Yeah, Tales of Arise, a Beyond the Dawn edition, and then also the other one is they're like with Bethesda. They're also doing Fallout 4 Anniversary. Whoop de doo.
oh yeah, Fallout
So
4,
once
yeah.
again, it's so many games with so little real fanfare. Now the Resident Evil talk was nice. It kind of went a little more in depth, explaining that you can do the first person or third person view, which is nice. You can explaining that uh, while one person you're playing more of a stealthy, you know, touch and go, like ammo's short supply. Leon's going to be your more action heavy focused person. You can pick up the enemy's chainsaw apparently now, which is cool. So they have, yeah, that's coming out really soon too. So, you know, hooray for that. I'm really wondering how it's going to run or what kind of compromises, if any. But there has to be some compromises, I think, for the
I
Switch
mean,
too.
it just locked at 30 and just low, just lower pixels. I would imagine that's where I'd start. Just fewer pixels,
Yeah.
shadows and stuff down to 0 or whatever.
So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, they just announced a little bit more information about that, and that was it. It's overall, it was kind of a disappointing, uh, Nintendo Direct, especially since it started kind of strong. And I was like, but then it quickly tanked.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you start with orbitals being like your out the gate thing, and there's not anything at the end that's like, hey, here's a little something extra. I mean, it's a partner direct. How much can you really expect from it? But like the reason why I say they have to get something kind of big announced um, by the summer is that this came out. The Switch 2 came out in June. There's only a couple games that I really feel like move me toward wanting to buy it. The Donkey Kong, Metroid, and this Orbitals game are really the only three I can think of that I'm like, I definitely would want to have and play all of those, at this point with the Switch 2. I'm not into Mario Kart, I know that moves it for a lot of people, but like they need a tentpole. They need like a real tentpole, and the Metroid should have been that, but it just, I just don't think it was. Um, and I just am like, it's either Mario or Zelda, and Zelda is the Tears of the Kingdom is too recent. Um, and I think Mario is like the answer that's going to end up coming out, but it is still like they gotta do something, man. They need to do something with this system. If I was Nintendo, I'd be very 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 afraid of Steam because Steam is doing a lot of the same thing, and people have a huge library every time they do come out with a Steam Deck, or every time that they will come out with one in the future. It's just going to keep kind of getting worse. And then they're also going to have a console, which you don't even have that anymore, Nintendo. So uh, I feel like they got to make moves, and they can always rest on their laurels because they have Mario. But at some point, the kids are gonna quit playing Mario. Uh, and so Nintendo needs to do some stuff. But yeah, I was pretty underwhelmed by a lot of what I saw here, but maybe they'll get some stuff out by the spring.
Yeah, the you gotta realize the first year for all the consoles of late have not been good. I mean, there might be one or two standout titles, but generally speaking, it's not until the end of year 2 that things really pop off because,
I mean, that's sort of
expect
always been the case a little bit. I mean, I can't remember like a time when the console really, year one opened with quite a few bangers. It just doesn't really happen very much. But
which did that got away with it because the Wii U sucked so badly.
yeah,
And so when they were porting things over, it might as well have just been a new thing. And
yeah,
that's kind of why it was fresh for a lot of people because a lot of people did skip the Wii U. And they had, you had your with right away you had Mario, Zelda, you had your tentpole games, but then you had just a lot of things you were able to port over safely. Then the Mario Kart and stuff like that. There was it was a lot safer.
Fire Emblem Three Houses. I feel like that's kind of what they're missing. Is they're missing like the third party big like one or two third party tentpole-ish games where it's like, yeah, this is not the same, but they're really close partners with Nintendo, and they have something really great to bring to this system. But you know, with in recent years, all the systems have been pretty slow out the gate, kind of because the systems are starting to run together now, and it's sort of like like a lot of these consoles are kind of soft launching because they're so expensive. I think they're having trouble moving units compared to the way they used to, compared to how many people there are in the world now and how big the game industry actually is. So I think it's probably just a confluence of events like that, but it's it's one of those things. I would like to see more, but I probably have to wait.
yeah, for sure. All right. Well, outside the Nintendo Direct, what else we got?
Quite a bit of other little things, honestly. Um, Next biggest thing probably is there's a little bit of rumors that the Steam Machine might be delayed. So Valve said in a blog post that they wanted to have shared the pricing and launch dates by now. Um, and I didn't read that blog post, but the article that I was reading said that they figured that it was because of the AI RAM shortage causing pricing of RAM to be, awful and super high. And so Valve is trying to wait to figure out where that's going to land before they can actually announce pricing. Um, which back when the Steam Machine did first get announced, I believe you did kind of call this as being a potential problem because RAM has been going up really high recently.
Yeah, it's my theory of why it's gonna be like a grand minimum. So it's gonna be like $1,000, $1,200, depending on when they decide to leash it,
I think
launch because
I think a grand would probably is probably okay in this day and age. It's not it's not. I mean, if it does more PC type things, then that's a little bit easier pill to swallow. But well, when you think about it, it is kind of crazy that like the consoles are getting to this point. Um, yeah, a 900 would be really nice, but I don't think they're going to be able to do that with RAM the way that it is, and it's not going to ease up. It's not going to get any better in the near future because not until AI finally has its pound of flesh and Sam Altman has has either been crucified or rules the world. Um, but yeah, so so they're still saying that it should be released this year, like fall this year, but they don't have more information and they would like to.
yeah, all right.
Next up, new game. I didn't know about this game, or at least I didn't remember hearing about this game. Horizon Hunters Gathering. Um, for PlayStation 5, coming out. There's a closed playtest this month in February 26th. I think toward the end of the month. There's no official release date yet, but if they're doing a closed playtest, it's probably fairly close. This game is a three-player co-op game where you are in the world of Horizon, and you go around with your teammates and you take down targets and dinosaurs and stuff like that, and do different things. I looked at the trailer a little bit. It definitely has a good aesthetic. It's a little bit more on the kid side compared to Horizon, uh, compared to the other games, or the mainline games, but it still looks pretty good, and looks like sort of their chance to kind of have a like a serialized or like a what do you call, I can't think of the name of the type of game, but basically like a long running game that just you sort of just keep playing every week or whatever as they get new content. So, but it looks all right. I was wondering if you had a chance to look at this trailer yet or not.
Yeah, the cell shadedness of it, and it does look. Uh, they've been making a push to be like a recognizable house brand lately. From the fact that they came out with that Lego Horizon game, which
Right.
felt like it was out of nowhere, and it was pretty competent. They've actually had legit physical Legos as well. So that was, it's them trying to make it into an everyday franchise, not just a hardcore, PlayStation fans only. Plus, they also had a really bad timing with the first two games running out around the same time as like Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
So I actually always liked the story. The story of the first one I thought was uh, overshadowed by just a lot of where the timing of it came out, and a lot of people just kind of bounced off of it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Now this one does look more action, just action based. Like I could see, especially if you're partying up with two other people. Uh, I think there looks like to be a level of customization, character creation. At least that's the vibe I got because you see uh, a bunch of different types of characters. From like the young heroine to an old grandpa looking character, and so I'm not sure exactly if it's just like you get to pick between these archetypes and just play like kind of like a Diablo style, it's like here's your pre-built character, or do you get to customize and get pick up new armor? Because that's one of the things as Horizon as well as you pick up new fun armor, your character drastically looks different, and being cell shaded now, it really can play up the aesthetics of it all, right?
Yeah, I think the term I was trying to think of earlier was live service game. Um, I think that the way that it looks to me is that there's probably going to be a pretty limited amount of stuff and things that you can do and have in the game as it launches. It looks like they're going to have at least three characters. If they just start and just have like just three characters, then that's fine with me, more or less. Um, from a game like this, I would just want to, like I said, come back every time they release new stuff and just have that be on a pretty quick cadence. It's like, okay, you have a couple new enemies, you have a one new character, you have a bunch of new outfits and stuff for you to earn, a bunch of new weapons. You have a good sense of power scaling and progression, and it becomes a game that like, yeah, sort of like Diablo, sort of like I'm trying to think of dang it, what is that game by Bungie called? Journey. No, it's not Journey. Um, Bungie.
Destiny.
Destiny, yeah. Destiny, where you are like like the new stuff drops, you go in and you do it, and then you're done for the next, you know, 2 or 3 months until they drop some more new stuff. Like that feels like this game, like I would like that for this game. Um because seems like it seems nice and fun, but and not too serious. So the kind of game that you could just check in with, with your friends whenever they do have new stuff. So that's what I'd like to see, but we'll see
Well,
how much they actually
as you
have.
like. as a live service game, as this is supposed to try to be, they need to come out with a steady cadence, and that's the key is if they wait too long between drops, they're going to lose people. You need to keep them constantly engaged, and it's a dangerous slope because as we've seen and mentioned, like live service games nowadays, you really have to do something special. You really have to make it solid. At this time, there's no price point. It is also there's a Steam page on there, so chances are it's going to be released, right away, or at least not too far behind the PlayStation version. You probably want to do day and day with both, just to get that many more players. If you can do cross play, because you're going to need to play with your friends one way or the other, and you want people to party up. If the moment you start, attention drops, then it's over. I mean, that's going to be the really hard part.
Yeah, that's true. If anything, if there's ever a time to have a simultaneous release on Steam, this would be it. Release on Steam and PlayStation, and make sure everybody knows about it, so that you have a high concurrent player count on the opener, and don't FBC Firebreak it, but actually have a pretty decent amount of content and stuff like ready to go. But it looks promising. Like just looking at the aesthetic of it, knowing what Horizon is, and looking at the gameplay, definitely doesn't seem like something that is going to win Game of the Year for me, you know. But it looks fun enough to make me want to come to try it and give it a good solid try.
Yeah, and if they play it smart, it's either going to be have a low barrier to entry for cost, probably PlayStation Plus extras or higher, like free game or something like that, uh, just to get people in the door, and then don't make uh, terrible choices for uh, your payment models. that's
Yeah,
the hard part. That's the tricky part. Is like what are you charging? How much you're charging? Um, because you got to make money somehow, but there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. Uh, so we'll see.
yeah.
Well, fingers crossed. I mean, I like Guerrilla Games, so let's hope that this is yeah, I don't know. When I hear live service and a company that I like, I'm like, don't do it because exactly FBC Firebreak. It's still too that
Uh,
wound is still too fresh. I'm like, what were you guys thinking? Come on. Uh, though this at least has a good art style to it, and that's something that FBC Firebreak never had. So
yeah, it seems like it's going to be a little bit better handled. It also seems like Sony is still looking for their money printer game. You know, Epic has Fortnite, which is, seemingly never going to go away. Microsoft, for all of their blunders, and how bad they seem like they're doing in a lot of ways, they have Call of Duty. They have Call of Duty and Activision in general. So that's like a money printer for them. Sony is still kind of looking for that. I don't think this is going to really be it for them, but if it can become a bit of a money printer and have like I don't know, kind of like, I don't know if this is the right term, but kind of be a bit of a loss leader where it somehow is cheap to make and cheap to run, and it maybe not, it doesn't have the biggest player base, but it has like player base big enough that makes it highly profitable, then that's what they're kind of looking for. They just that you can tell that they know that they're exposed by being reliant on making really good games. Like that's been their bread and butter for the past, um, all the way since like the PlayStation 3 and some of PlayStation 2 is just making really, really, really good tentpole games. They know that that's a dangerous game to play because one day the talent may get too expensive or the market may just go away from that, and then they may just not be able to make as much money. So it makes sense that they're trying to diversify. I just hope it's good.
yeah, all right. Uh, for sure. I mean, once again, we'll we'll see how it comes out. optimistic just because I like Guerrilla Games, and at least it has the looks to impress. But yeah, all right. What else you got, man?
Okay. Fans are mad that Obsidian isn't working on Outer Worlds, basically Outer Worlds 3 or the Outer Worlds sequel. Um, and they're kind of blaming the rollout or the like initial price announcement rather for Outer Worlds 2, because initially that was said to be that it was going to be $80, and so people kind of like are pointing that and saying that killed the hype for Outer Worlds 2, and so Outer Worlds 2 didn't have as good of sales as it maybe could have, should have. Therefore, we're not getting an Outer Worlds 3, at least not in the near term. I think that it's hard to argue with that. Obviously, if Outer Worlds 2 had been a gigantic success, then we would almost certainly be getting an Outer Worlds 3 immediately. And the $80 price point, announcement was a gigantic screw up by Xbox. That game was never, I'm sorry, but it just was never good enough to merit an $80 price point. So I don't think that they're entirely wrong, but I also think that Outer Worlds 2 probably was never going to sell well enough for an automatic re-up of into a sequel. I just, people liked the first one, people were excited for the second one, but it didn't seem like something that was going to move the needle quite that much to me.
Yeah, well, I find it really stupid that this is a problem. All right, I actually really loved the Outer Worlds, the first game. But you got to realize that came out in 2019. After that was not Outer Worlds 2. So it's been 6 years. The game following that was Grounded. Grounded came out 3 years later in 2022. So 2019, 2022. Then, they came out with, was it that, Pentiment, the little the story-based game?
Mm-hmm.
Um, they came out with that. Then this year, or this last year, I should say, Outer Worlds 2 came out, but also was it Avowed came out as well. So it's not like they just went from Outer Worlds 1 to Outer Worlds 2. And the next game that they're slated to be on their docket is Grounded 2. So that makes sense.
So you're
It's been 6
saying
years,
that there's hope
you
for
know.
Outer Worlds 3, just not right now. Just not, it's not, it was never really the plan.
Yeah, I mean, unless I don't in my opinion, they were not making Outer Worlds 2 right after Outer Worlds 1. They were not spending 6 years on this.
No.
Uh, they made Grounded 3 and that came out 3 years later. And then so from there, 3 years after that, they came out with Outer Worlds 2. I mean,
The only caveat that I would say, and it's just because I just don't know, is like after there might be people who really know, maybe they could tell us, but after Outer Worlds 1, there may have been an immediate announcement. We're working on Outer Worlds 2, but it'll be a very long time. But we do have like script or whatever for it. Maybe that came out. I don't remember that. I wasn't paying attention. But I think you're probably right. I'm just saying that there may have been a world in which people were expecting that and they're not like even getting that. Um, I don't think that's happening, but that's just something I wanted to point out as maybe being
oh yeah,
possible. So yeah.
without a doubt, it is possible. The problem is, of course, the idea that people get angry when they list games too far in advance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, here's our future docket. But at the same time, we're talking potentially at the earliest, what, 6 years from now,
Yeah.
if we follow the last cadence, anyways, between the Outer Worlds, a grounded game, and then the sequel or another Outer Worlds game. So it's kind of safe to say that You'd have, if you're just throwing, if I'm throwing darts around at a timeline, I guess Grounded would be 3 years, following the same cadence, 3 years after Outer Worlds 2. So Grounded 2 would be what, 2028. Um, so then you're looking at 2031 for a new Outer Worlds. That's within reason. Most people, it's enough time to 6 years, or 3 years from now, when they finally come out with the next thing, they're like, well, what else we're gonna do? That's enough time to clean the palette and make people maybe realize, or they can put up a new pitch for and the third installment. Now, yes, it was extremely stupid for them to jump on the Nintendo bandwagon and be like, yes, let's all charge $80 for this game. uh, it did a lot more harm than good, especially since they ended up walking it back, but that was too little, too late. Just look at Xbox when they came out with the Xbox One series, the one line of consoles, and yeah, I don't know. Uh, Sometimes people just need to think before they talk and say really,
Yeah, and it's, I mean, there's always somebody mad about something on the internet, but I thought it was sort of interesting because I mean, I just like for the reasons that you gave, which I didn't even think of. I think those are good reasons, but I was just like, yo, this is, even with the other stuff, this is not really worth even having a thought about there needing to be an Outer Worlds, because it just was never like another Outer Worlds so soon, because it was just never that big of a deal to begin with. But I don't know, maybe we're just making something out of nothing. But yeah, so um, that's kind of it for that news. I think Obsidian's probably going to be working on something else in the near term, and then we'll probably end up getting an Outer Worlds 3 after they're good and ready to make it.
all
Um,
right. What else do you got for us, man?
then the next thing, Mind's Eyes, Mark Gearhard claims that there was $1 million campaign to smear the game Mind's Eye. Gonna read a little bit from I think it was a Kotaku article. Basically, that Ritual Network and the content creators they allegedly paid, quote, will all be served in person criminal complaints shortly, end quote, for criminal charges, including, quote, espionage, sabotage, and criminal interference, end quote. Um, they are really sticking on to uh, this stuff about the smear campaign and the whatever to destroy Mind's Eye. Um, it'll be interesting if any of it comes to fruition that there was something there to sabotage the game by anybody. Um, that wasn't, or that, but just by anybody. Um, it does seem like a really stupid thing to keep talking about. Um, if I was, if I was the creators of Mind's Eye, uh, either Leslie or Mark, the co CEOs, I would shut my mouth and do the legal stuff and just keep my mouth shut until the legal stuff is done. If you really believe you have something to, to go to court over, because like the fact of the matter is that like before you hit the launch button on the game, you knew that it was dog shit. You knew it was broken. You had to know. And you launched it anyway. Um, like I guess contracts have something to do with that. 2 months before the game is out, you know the game is broken. There is time to talk to your publisher. Maybe IDOS would be like, well, we're still gonna like sue you for breach or whatever. So maybe that's why they had to do it or whatever. But I just feel like you got to keep your mouth shut until you can prove some of this stuff, because otherwise you just look like a complete idiot by blaming other people for a game that you knew was broken with like when you launched it. Like there's no way you didn't know that the game was completely broken when you launched it. It's just inexcusable. So I hope that they get some kind of retribution, that they come out, looking better at the end of all this, but it just looks awful right now.
Yeah, unless if the sabotage was literally at a gaming code level, not just sabotage on marketing or people making fun of it. And I mean, I can see there being a slight, uh, conspiracy if on the argument of, our competitors had these people ready to make fun of it, but at the same time, you made something so bad that you didn't have to get paid to make fun of it because it was just that obvious.
Yeah, like
Um,
the smear,
if if it was a good game, if it was a competent game, if it was well done, if it wasn't just broken, and then there was a huge push to just make fun of it and crap all over it, I can see your argument there. But because it was such a broken mess, it's going to be really hard to prove that unless if they have like paper trail. But still, it doesn't matter because even if people did, if you even if you did find out, and there was a huge group that was just out to slander you from the start, there's also a whole bunch of there's the other, two-thirds of the internet that was like, no, no, it's so bad that it was very easy to just make fun of you. So
if you um if you paid to have this game smeared, I think that you should try to get your money back because you didn't need to pay to have this game smeared. This game came out of the game at the of the gate just completely broken. You know, you it was that was never needed, and so to them for them to keep hounding on, oh, we were smeared, we were smeared, we were smeared. It's like, bro, you weren't. Nobody cares, and it like I mean, even if it was like the rock people at Rockstar who were trying to ruin you because they were jealous or something or whatever, like I think they would have taken one look at your current status and just been like, we don't need to because this is completely botched. This game is cooked before. It's like it's DOA, you know.
I mean, and more, it's like the closest thing we have to this in recent memory, at least for me, is Skull and Bones. And Skull and Bones was at least a playable game. It was more complete than this. It got made fun of. A lot of people, thrashed it as well, but at least that was a quote unquote complete game. So,
Yeah.
anyway, I just it is sad that they're still fighting, and I feel like um, they're focused on the wrong thing instead of trying to push blame and try it on to something else. They should just own it, fix it, say we'll do better next time. We've learned, blah blah blah. But no one wants to take responsibility for it, and they're just trying to pass the buck.
I mean, I just feel like IOI, you know, I'm sure there's been meetings had, and I'm sure there's only so much that IO Interactive can actually say to them. But as their publisher, if I was IOI, I would go. There's a lot of eyes in that sentence. I would go to Leslie Benzies and Mark Gearhart and be like, look, you guys have to shut your mouths or we're going to quit working with you. I mean, I'm sure there's like legal reasons why they maybe can't do that, but if I was a publisher, I'd be like, look, every time you every time you're screwing up and saying this stuff, it's making it harder for us to do business with you, for us to be connected to you, because it just keeps getting worse. It just keeps getting. I mean, the game's been out for what, a year, almost a year, and it's every time they open their mouths, it just reminds you of how bad the game was at launch. I mean, the article that I saw this on had a nice little pot shot they took at the end, and said that there are currently said as of the writing of this article there are 40 concurrent players. And I was like, wow, that is brutal. Like that is just the article. That's just Kotaku just like trying to poop all over the like not the game, but like the people that are saying that people are pooping all over the game. You know, um, and I think Kotaku probably has. Kotaku has been shown to have vendettas pretty much on a regular basis. Um, I don't know if they're doing that now, but it was funny to me that they were kind of taking that little shot there at their game. Um, yeah, it's just a mess, and I think I just don't know why people won't just shut their mouths. Like, just shut up until the lawyers are done with their thing, and then you can have your day.
Yeah, it's also a little too late. I mean, I understand wanting to like if this was fresh, still new, still on people's minds, but no one remembers this anymore. It's already old news. Who you trying to, you know, convert? You know, like there's no, you're not convincing any of us. We're no longer talking about it unless if you bring this up, and it only hurts the image more.
It
Like you
makes me
mentioned,
not want to play it.
well, wait until the lawyer comes out, and if you guys win, then you can be like, at least you come out uh looking, coming out ahead, and until then it just looks like you're crying about it.
Yeah.
There's no other way around it. So all right, anyways, let's just be done with this. What's your next topic?
Next thing, I thought this was interesting. So the lead for the game Danganronpa, named Kazutaka Kodaka, did an AMA on X, where he said a bunch of stuff. But one thing that he said, and I'll read this. He said, "Quote: You've got to deceive the company." He wrote, "Pursuing creative work while in a company is impossible if you're someone who does whatever the company tells them. Even if it means that you have to pretend to obey, keep doing what you like. Use your company. And if something goes wrong, the one who hired you is to blame anyways. LOL." I mean, I read this and I was like, man, I can't believe he's actually saying this out loud. He must really be secure in his job or not care or something.
Or he's on his way out. This is his
Or he's
love
not his
letter as
way
he's
out.
out.
Yeah, he's like, he's, yeah, this might be him low key saying, like, haha, you guys are about to fire me. I know you're going to fire me, but I'm telling the world that I got one over on you by making the games that I actually wanted to make. So I think that he's right to some degree. Um, I don't think that you should really say that you have to deceive the company, because I think the thing with, like, ultimately your goal and the company's goal are pretty much the same. The company probably wants to make a little bit more money, even if it's at the expense of the quality of the game in the here and now. A developer, their goal usually is to make as much money as they need to do well, but their quality of the game is kind of their main thing. And for that point, I guess I would say he is kind of right. It's like, look, I got to look out for me and my career, and that has to do, and just my own personal, like, creative, life, more or less. And so that means that I have to put the quality of the game first, ahead of any minor profits that may be, shaved off because of reasons or whatever. Because the better the game, the more, nobody cares how much money we made off of it, really. The fans just care about how good the game was. So if I can get out of here making a profit and making a really, really good game, then I win as a developer. So I kind of get what he's saying there, but it's still, I don't know. It was definitely just a bold thing to say, just a bold thing to write. I thought you've got to deceive the company. Like, that's kind of wild.
He is talking about Japanese company though, so black companies are very popular in
I
Japan.
mean, they do happen,
Being
but yeah.
uh, well, they don't adhere to the crunch regulations that the rest of the Western world adhere to. So
No, there's there,
yeah,
there's there there's
I
more there's more regulations that are coming to Japan. At least, there have been recently. I don't know how much it has translated. I'm sure it's not nearly as much as it has, here, like here in the U.S. But but I imagine there's some of that. It is just kind of wild to say this out loud. It's very un-Japanese. Most of the time in Japan, even if people are being treated like crap, they do kind of rally around the company, um, as their kind of monolithic, you know, favored overlord.
Yeah, this is him giving turning around, giving the double bird as he like, backflips out the window. Yeah.
I mean, maybe if he quits or retires and moves on or whatever, then we can look back on this and say, okay, yeah, he saw the end coming or was done. But I don't think that there's actually any plans for him to leave, but we'll see. Anyway, so I just thought that was kind of funny. There's a couple shorter ones here. So Baldur's Gate 3, the story is being continued on the HBO TV show that seems to be happening. I didn't, I've only seen basically people reacting to Baldur's Gate 3 story, you know, continuing to go on. I'm not sure about how sure it is, but it seems like the HBO is actually it's greenlit, it's good to go, and they're making it. People, I don't know how Baldur's Gate 3 ended. I don't want to know. I still hold out hope that I may actually play that 150-hour game one of these days. Um, but from what people are saying, they don't really understand how you can continue from Baldur's Gate 3. Like, that's the end of that story. And they really don't understand how you can do it on a TV show. So that has people worried, but it's an interesting idea, to say the least right now.
Yeah, just have a bunch of branching path stories. That would be insane to follow. Yeah, you're gonna have to. I think it's more like you continue. It's like stories within Baldur's Gate, like universe, right?
Like
Uh,
an anthology.
yeah, something, or just like, hey, these are side stories or side adventures with people while the Baldur's Gate story goes on in the game story goes on in the background. I don't want this to go to HBO. I don't actually want this to be a TV show. I have zero desire for this at all. Um,
I don't have very much faith in Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro in general right now, with all the Magic the Gathering stuff being the way that it is. I think that they got super lucky, um, and had a flash of genius by giving this over to Larian Studios. And I think Baldur's Gate 3, in terms of like D&D type stuff, might just be kind of a one-off. Um, and I don't think they have very good plans for how to follow it up from a Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast side. And I think this is them going, I think this is them waving the white flag, cashing out, while the stock is high, because they know that they don't have a Baldur's Gate 4 uh, in them. They know that they can't get Larian Studios to do it because Larian's busy with something else, and probably doesn't want to do, you know, doesn't want to be beholden to another company like that. They seem kind of independent, just from what I kind of see of the way they act. Um, and so I think Wizards of the Coast is like, yeah, we don't have any way to for sure make a banger of a sequel, but we can get HBO to give us a whole bunch of money and them to develop a show, them to write it, them to basically take on all of the liability in terms of if it goes poorly, and we can save our reputation and make a bunch of money and not have to do anything. I mean, from a business standpoint, I kind of see why they're doing it. I also
Also, it's worth mentioning that the uh, the person they got assigned for this is the showrunner is Craig Mazin, who is the Last of Us and Chernobyl showrunner.
okay.
So this is the person who's supposed to be doing to adapt the game into the series. Uh, they have someone of note. Uh, Once again, I just personally don't want to see this happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it's. I mean, yeah, I am. We'll have to see how it actually all unfolds. But if it is a halfway decent series, or if it's a very good series or whatever, then I think that we can rest assured, or be rest assured that Wizards of the Coast did what they knew that they could do well. You know, that they kind of just admitted that they just couldn't do any better than that. And that's really all we want out of these game companies and stuff. I would, you know, either that or just shelve the story, shelve the game, and then come back whenever it makes sense to in the far future.
All
Uh,
right. Well, move on to the next thing.
Next thing, a little movie called Iron Lung, which was produced, directed, heavily created by Markiplier. It's based on that one guy's game, I believe. So it made $21 million in the first weekend or first couple days or whatever. Um, and so that's not very much money in terms of like a movie's like opener, but it is a lot when you consider that the budget is reported to only have been $3 million. So I know Penguin Zero was talking about this movie. Critical Drinker actually said he thought it was actually good. Um, and I know Markiplier was apparently tearful in a stream where he was talking to fans because it was such a gigantic success. Apparently, that's a huge payoff if they really only spent $3 million to make 21 million off of it. So yeah, kind of a cool win for the video game movie industry, I guess.
Yeah, it was kind of funny because I remember hearing that the film disappeared from the weekend rankings for like
Because it did so well.
Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, there. So it's like a lot of people are spitting conspiracies about big Hollywood trying to uh, not show that there's a up and coming star for the weekend. But I mean, considering the fact that it's a movie based off of like an $8 game on Steam, it's
Yeah.
kind of insane. It's and the creator was it David uh like Szynski or something Szymanski. I'm sorry, I don't remember off the top of my head.
It's like
But
it's
yeah,
an Eastern European name. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it's like I know the game's kind of divisive. I've never got around to playing it. I just I know some people really like it. I mean, apparently they like it enough to put money down to make a movie. So
Well,
it's really impressive.
I did see a trailer for this. I guess it was like on YouTube or something. I feel like it was on something I was actually watching. So I didn't really think of it as like a cheap, like a budget movie or whatever. I remember seeing the trailer and being like, that doesn't look terrible. That actually looks like it might not be bad. But then I just kind of went on with it. So I guess a lot of people felt that way, and a lot of people felt like that it was like pretty all right. I mean, the game is a critical darling. There's a lot of YouTube videos and stuff on that game and or that creators, games. And horror movies uh, are notoriously cheap to make, so seemed like a really good idea overall. And I think it's good for the industry. Not everything has to be a gigantic $1 billion Marvel movie. It's fine for a movie to be really small and just not a waste of your time, but like a decent good idea. So I'm down for it. I don't know if or when I'm actually going to watch this. I'm probably not going to go to the theater to watch it, but um, I'll look forward to seeing it on Prime or Netflix or wherever when it comes out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge success. Congratulations. I mean, it's to do something first time out, knocking it out of the park. I mean, that's a really cool story. It's something that uh, you like to hear. I mean, it's the underdog tale, right? Like it's just the small person overcoming the odds and making a big change. So
Well,
then, hopefully, the second thing that they come out with will also equally be as good.
well, it needs to be possible. Like it needs to be like it needs to be possible that you can or somebody smaller independent creator can make something that breaks through and does really well. If it gets too closed off, then people quit trying, and then if it just gets too monopolized, and then things get stagnant and bad things happen. You need people to be able to break through every once in a while. Okay, two more little things. One, Yote outsold Tsushima in the same span of time. And so this is Ghost of Yote outsold Ghost of Tsushima the same span of time after release. So that's good overall. And Sony seems pretty happy with how the game has performed. So that's really good for Sucker Punch and for Sony in general. We both really like this game. And anyway, so seems like people are happy at Sony for now.
Yeah, congrats on that, and at least that bodes well for the team to do more games, similar games at least. So good for Sucker Punch. I'm happy for him.
Yeah. And then finally, Overwatch 2 is now just called Overwatch. The reason I bring this up is because back in the summer of 2023, late spring 2023, I think it was actually summer, I think it was August. Um, Overwatch 2 was coming out, and it was supposed to have a bunch of things that they promised. A bunch of it's supposed to be like basically be a gigantic overhaul, and have a bunch of have like a story mode. Just be way more of a game in order to merit the two. At the end of it, and it came out with barely anything. People were mad, and all this stuff. And at the time, it just seemed pretty clear to me that the whole Overwatch 2 thing was just an elaborate way of taking the game free to play, because they had a because when Overwatch 1 came out, it came out to $60 and it had microtransactions, and it's just always clear to me that they wanted to get rid of that paywall, but they couldn't really do that without offending everybody that paid $60 or even $40 for Overwatch 1. And so they had to do all of this like stuff with like Overwatch 2 and like big fanfare and promise all these things that they knew were never going to happen. And so they did that, and now 2 years later nobody's watching and they can quietly take the 2 off and just go back to Overwatch. And it just seems, I mean, like, I guess the plan, like, kind of went off more or less without a hitch, or with minimal damage. But I just feel like they could have, if I feel like people would have understood, and they could have, saved some face if they just said back in 2023 or 2022, even maybe just said, hey, we're just going free to play, and we're going to release some content, so a little bit of extra content, and now we're free to play. Sorry you paid $60 for this game that you could have, waited 8 years and got for free, but this is what we're doing. It just seems so weird to me, but it seems clear that's what they did. I don't know. Am I crazy?
Yes, because you still think it went off without a hitch. Um,
Okay.
the fan base had tanked. In comparison to where it was at its prime. The As far as you know, yes, that was their end goal, but at the same time, I do believe that they came into it with like good intentions, but all of that fell through. They were also This was when they started canceling, the story content that everyone was wanting. They were also like post loot box, uh, turmoil
Hmm.
or gate or whatever you want to call it, like loot box gate, because essentially everyone was hating on loot boxes. They were notorious for it. I didn't mind so much because they're just only cosmetic, but at the same time, their drop rate sucked. And by the time Overwatch 2 came out, I was only playing the holiday events. Uh, so I really didn't care about the core gameplay. I just liked the gimmick
Yeah.
for they had for Halloween or uh, the winter events. So yeah, uh, I had checked out a long time ago. I don't really care one way or the other. I mean, I wanted story, I wanted actual like backgrounds. It's like because that was one of the coolest things that they did was their little shorts introducing the characters and stuff like that. The quality behind that was amazing,
Mhm.
and that's kind of what was it. Condor was trying to hint at was like, hey, we'll give you the story that Overwatch or
Concord.
not Condor. I'm sorry, Concord. Yeah. Uh, they were trying to pretend like, hey, we'll give you the story, we'll leak out more stuff like that for our game. The thing is, they had boring characters that no one cared about. So Overwatch had really, fun and large array of characters that you were wanting to know more about.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Once again, it's over. Blizzard screwed up in a lot of ways over time. There are still people playing it, and it's one of the uh, few things that are still around. I mean, but that's kind of how I feel like people still play WoW as well. I mean, it's still making them money. It's just uh,
Can't even imagine playing WoW in 2026. Um, I mean, wow, it's wow, literally wow. Yeah, I mean, the Blizzard games have never really been for me. I've followed certain people back in the day who were really into Blizzard games and made their bread and butter, on Twitch playing them. And so I kind of get it for that, but it, that they were always kind of dip in and be like, okay, still same old Blizzard, kind of a cut above Ubisoft in a lot of ways for me. Now that I think about it, but yeah, it's just never quite something that would really, grab me. But yeah, anyway, I just noticed that they changed the name back to Overwatch, and I was like, aha, I got you. Um, so I just wanted to bring it up.
I mean, I paid for it. I enjoyed my time with it. I played it more than hours wise, and a lot of other games that I bought on Steam at the time. So
Yeah.
I can't really say much else about it. Did I pay for any loot boxes? No. Uh, you know, so I feel like I got a fair deal for what I paid. All right. Well, that's it for the news. Let's get to what we actually been playing because we didn't get to talk much about it last time. We were in the middle of it. We both been playing Mio, Memories in Orbit. So I'll let you start this one off because I think I played a little bit more than you on this. So
Yeah.
I want to hear what you got.
Yeah, I played this game for about 5 hours. So real quick, this game is a Metroidvania game with a pretty nice little art style where you're a little robot-ish, alien-ish robot um, that kind of like wakes up in sort of a ruined sort of environment, and your job more or less is to go around and figure out what happened and how to get things like back to the way that they need to be. It seems like you're on like a generation ship or like a living ship, and you're trying to um, fix all of the major components of the ship, and and yeah, and just fix things. Um, so this game, um, uh, so I played about. So I think I mentioned I played about 5 hours of this, and I finally kind of had to quit. I didn't have to, but I was like, I think I'm kind of done with this. So the early area of this game is pretty. Um, it kind of starts you out where you're in a central spot, and you can kind of go to four. I don't want to say four, but basically like two main sides, like one on each side, left and right, and there's kind of an up and a down on each of those, and there's like a boss in each of those kind of corners. And that takes probably about 4 hours to get through, and then it opens up a little bit more over to the side, The problem that I have this with this game is that it doesn't really seem to have a sense of rhythm. In games that are really good, you always feel like you're doing something, and you always feel like you're about to do something or you're on your way to doing something. Um, then there's never a point that really drags in a good game. It's sort of maybe has some downtime, but the downtime is used properly. Um, the thing about this is that like there's a lot of times when you've done everything that you can do more or less uh, with progression, and you're just stuck on a boss. But when you die to the boss, it sends you all the way back to the center of the game, and so you have to literally walk back to where the boss is, where there's not really any enemies to kill. You're literally just spending 2 or 3 minutes, 120 seconds, maybe 180 seconds, walking back to the boss to fight the boss again, to die, to start it over again. That doesn't sound like it's all that bad, but when you have to fight a boss like 5, 6, 7, 8 times, um, before you beat it, those walks back to the boss start to really add up and they get really irritating. So, in contrast, the game Nine Souls almost always has a save point right before the boss because the bosses in Nine Souls are really hard. You're going to have to smash your head against them many, many times, and you get a really good feel for them. It's almost like musical memory. So you kind of want to just like jump right back in. The way that game does it is the correct way. That's what you want. When you get to a boss, you die, you go right back in. You die, you go right back in, and it feels like you're kind of continuously fighting the boss. But you can bail out anytime you want to go level up or look for something else to do or whatever. But Mio doesn't really do that. It just doesn't really do that. It seems to dare you to put the game down basically at every turn. And that is what finally got to me where I was just like I just don't I just don't like the way this is going. So how long to beat has this game at 20 hours for like a normal playthrough, like a main plus sides or whatever playthrough. Um, that is that is too long by half. Like this game needs to be 10 hours. It needs to have, and I think it could easily be 10 to 15 hours with a few tweaks, a few like save points added in front of the boss, a few different little things like that. That could have really saved this game. Um, I think the other thing about it, which is not, I don't think this is too bad, but I think that it's a bit floaty. The jumping is a bit floaty. The combat in general feels a bit floaty. There's a move that I think you and I are going to talk about here in a minute that we both didn't particularly care for. Um, so yeah, that's kind of the bad things I have to say about it. I'll let you kind of say some stuff, and then maybe we can talk about some of the good things I actually liked about it.
All right. Yes. So I put in about 10 hours into the game. You're right. It is the problem is it's slow. It's a slow paced game. The concept is it's supposed to be more invoking, I guess, because you're on this ship. It's kind of busted down. I'm not sure what vibe it's going for. 'Cause I think it's trying to go for more melancholy than like horror.
It's kind of what I got. Yeah.
Because you're not, yeah, 'cause you're not sure what's going on. You kind of get the vibe that this was transporting uh, probably people across to like a new planet, and then something went wrong. Chances are they're all doomed. You only have these machines. You have certain bio life kind of gone awry with like plant life, but for the most part, It's just only other machines that kind of gotten corrupted. Now, a game like this should not take terribly long as far as to know what to do next. You're right. Uh, like, okay, I'm gonna go only in the direction that it allows me. Fine. You're trying to explore it. It took an absurd amount of time before you got a mini map. Uh, and this is trying to be like a Souls-like game where, kind of like a Nine Souls or the more recent iterations of Metroidvania games, while like it lets you carry currency. You can't really store your currency, and if you die, unlike a Souls game where you can run back and collect the currency, this is a no, this is gone forever kind of game. They have special stations or machines that will convert your currency into a hard currency. Um,
That
that's
can't
fine.
be lost when you die.
Yes. So that didn't mean squat for me. I was able to buy out the shop really early.
Yes.
And for the last 5 hours, I have not been able to buy a single new thing. There has been nothing to buy at the shop. I'm collecting special orbs that like you needed to upgrade um, some of the more expensive components, and I have not like in order to equip your character, you have memory chips. So you have X amount of slots available. Certain special tactical chips will cost X amount. For you to see your own UI, that's 5 chips. For you to see, you get a chip, a mod for an enemy that costs another 5. To collect more currency from enemies, that's 10. To do you do a 3-hit combo. So if you want your third hit to be stronger, that's 20. Well, the thing is, you don't have a lot. I think I have 45 slots right now, and I'm like 10 hours in. I have technically 50 if I wanna do I finally found a cursed chip that essentially makes it so I can't heal,
Mhm.
but it gives me 5 additional slots. So what I'll do is I'll go to a boss and I'll take away my UI, and I just have to take a mental note that I have 5 hits, before I'm dead, upon 6th hit, yeah, at the current rate, but I'm
Yeah.
also using a special chip that gives me an extra health slot. It's That's fine. It's just there's not enough progression. There's not enough
Right.
upgrades. You're going from one end, you search everything, then you have to go all the way back to the other end. It feels like you're playing like the original Metroid, where for the first time, where like, well, you may not necessarily know, but you got that one new item. Now you got to scan everything you've been to see where the new path is. Then you have to turn around and go back and scan everywhere else you've been to go find the next new path. It took a while before I got the mini map, and I didn't even get that ability normally because there's a spot where you're resing uh, the main system UI. You're donating your currency to them. I think because I died with a lot of currency on hand, I think it just filled the tank, instead of just getting lost into the ether. I'm like, "Well, that's nice because I
That
came by and the pool
that is
was full."
I remember you telling me about that in a conversation we had earlier, and then going back and see and playing the game again and seeing that whenever you die and you lose currency, it says blah 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 currency has gone back to the pool, and I was like, okay, that must be why Joe thought he didn't do anything, and yet the pool like became activated again because it got enough from your dead Nokre going back into it.
Yeah, uh, the boss situation, uh, the bosses aren't the first couple bosses aren't terribly tough, but there is a progression you should be going through. They want you to kind of you could if you're good enough, you can memorize them and kind of make your way, but there is a little bit of a walk like you mentioned, especially the one that I think broke you, which is one of the ones that I did because you get stuck to a point where like, well, I'm tired of exploring every nook of the ship to find the new spot that I'm supposed to go to. I do know there's a boss here. I'm just going to bang my head against this boss, figure out its pattern, and beat it. and that particular walk in is way too long. It is tedious, and it sucked all the joy out of it. I mean, the save spots in the ship are also very weirdly placed.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's just like I had two save spots really close. So the one in the north, essentially the northwest of the map, there are two save slots that are pretty close to each other, while you're going through large swaths of other areas where there's not a single save spot. And Uh, I haven't yelled at a game as hard as I have in this,
Yeah.
because I actually made my way over to the far east of the map. I got the ability to glide, and I floated over a large body of water, and I'm pretty sure I can't go back until I cleared the area. I had cleared a bunch of the map, there's a save spot, but there was no currency exchange to make sure my currency got, uh to the point where, like, I won't lose it, and I knew a boss fight was coming. Sure enough, boss fight came, and I died, and and I cursed at my screen very loud because I was not happy. That was like, it was like 1,000 something currency, and I was like, "This is bogus," because there was no. And then after I banged my head against the boss, just ran through a bunch of times on, like, 6th or 7th try or something like that.
Okay.
I beat it. There was still, after I cleared the area, there's still no currency exchange. Eventually, you just, through save spots, you can teleport. Sometimes that
Mhm.
if the save spot is fully activated. So this game is just too slow, and it's just poorly paced. And I think
Right.
that's the key takeaway.
So, yeah, I had a similar kind of thought that I did want to bring up about the like progression. Like you hit, like you said, like you hit a wall where like you just have done everything and there's nothing left to buy, and it's really soon, and in the game, and then like you haven't bought anything in 5 hours. So basically, from where I'm at right now to where you are, there's nothing to buy. It's only a 20-hour game, which is still too long, but like it just like that they didn't really properly think about how this game needs to be measured or meted out, more or less. Um, I think that this game, I think the developers of this game probably have a they're probably at the high part of medium experience, um, and that there's probably not enough people with a actual high level of experience in making games, and there's probably not enough people with a low level of experience making games. What I'm trying to say is like I think these developers might have just enough knowledge to be kind of dangerous to themselves, because it doesn't take a very it either takes a lot of experience or very little experience to be able to tell immediately that this game needs to be shorter. Like that you just need to be like you just need to get to save points faster. You need to be able to kind of you need to be directed the directions that you should be going. You shouldn't be fighting this boss yet. You should be fighting that boss instead of banging your head against this boss, actually go to this one or that one. Um, just layout, simple layout things, just things that when you have a medium level of experience in games, in game development, you're just not as likely to see, because the rest of this game, there's a ton of promise to this game. Like when I first started playing it, I was like, okay, I'm not a complete idiot. When I, thinking that this game might be good, like it came out of, came, off the download, pretty much exactly like I expected it to. Metroidvania, you're jumping around, you're doing stuff, and they've got this story. Seemed competent. And it was only after playing more and more of it that I was like, okay, yeah, these developers just there's just something that they missed in the final wrap up that just didn't really work right. Because I think the story is pretty, try it, it's been done a million times. I don't really care where it goes because I kind of already know where it's probably likely to go. But it's it's done a little bit in its own sort of style, its own sort of way. So I'm in for that. And then it's got a really good aesthetic, and it looks different enough from other games of this type to be, catch my interest and just stay interesting on that point. The enemy types are, the ones I've seen are varied and interesting enough. The bosses, when I'm not being annoyed by them, are unique enough, different enough, and simple enough to wrap your head around. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that's really promising about this game. It's just some very simple things that would really go a long way to making it better. And then some other things that probably were lost maybe a bit in the planning stage where they just didn't plan out enough progression to really make it kind of keep your interest from a moment to moment basis.
Yeah. The one of the All right, that's just it for the exploration and the pacing. It's just not well paced. I will probably ruin the image of the character now for you, or at least tell you like what I see. The main character, um, they have like it's this little robot, uh, kind of a blue tinted robot with like long, like
Hair.
it's tentacles, hair tentacles. Yeah, because it's called hairpin. Is a whip move you can do to kind of whip onto crystals and pull yourself towards enemies. Anyways, the color scheme, I cannot not see the girl with the pearl earring. So if you look up that painting
Yeah.
and then you
The
start
blue and the
next time you
yellow. Yeah.
yeah, it's just like that's all I can ever see with that
Okay.
match. The combat, no, yeah, it's floaty. It's you can take it or leave it. I personally don't like the floatiness as much, but it works well because it's there's a lot of place spaces in this game where once you get you're doing double jump and you're whipping onto things and you're trying to pull yourself. Have you ever played the Ninja Turtles game for the Nintendo, the original Nintendo? I think it's
No.
level. Okay, so look it up. I believe it's level 2 is the notorious dam level. It's
This
you
isn't
literally
for
go off
Super Nintendo, right? This is for the regular
original,
Nintendo.
the OG NES, because I think it's level 2, you jump into the water, you're trying to disarm bombs. The problem is, you're using a Nintendo controller and it's very finicky, but you're trying to maneuver your way through these little narrow paths with electric plankton on both sides. So if you get too close, you fry. And a lot of young kids like myself died terribly all the time there. Well, they essentially recreated that, but instead of being in water, it's a jumping puzzle.
Mhm.
So you have to double jump, whip,
I did that.
hit something, reset. Yeah, there's a lot more, and it goes
Oh,
really far. There's a lot of that stuff. There's a lot of trial and error. Luckily, I had the ability to the mod chip to some of those areas will have like a healing fountain next to you, so you can either
yeah.
spend currency or you have the mod to heal for free. So that's exactly what they did, and so they knew right there that that's you're going to need that because it's a lot of trial and error. Not the best of mechanics, but they kind of rely a lot on that. So I can see why it's floaty. 'Cause if it wasn't floaty, that would be even worse. In my opinion, for that specific level design.
Mm,
Uh,
maybe.
they get when you defeat certain bosses, that's when you start getting upgrades, and that's why I said there's kind of a rhythm that they want you to follow. Because certain bosses, like oh yeah, they have a they call it a dodge mechanic. It's not a dodge mechanic. It's a blink mechanic, which lets because in our brains we're thinking dodge, so you're thinking dodge roll to move forward and avoid attack. But no, this is literally you stand stationary, you'll disappear and reappear like a really bad version of Nightcrawler from X-Men. You know, Nightcrawler can at least teleport forward and up.
It's
This person just disappears from the screen and then reappears.
It's
Uh,
honestly actually I think better to think of it as a parry. Because a parry, while a parry would have more advantage too, a parry you're not actually moving, so if you mess up, you get hit. But and like a dodge is like you gain or lose, a movement advantage. So yeah, like whenever it took me a little while, and I finally was like, okay, this void out, disappearing act that you do is it's different. You have to think about it like, oh, I'm just missing this damage, but everything else is the same. It's just a weird kind of thing I had to get used to.
yeah. As far as the so that is not comfortable to use right out the gate. You will need it. I feel like you will need it in other situations. The the hairpin or the whip ability doesn't work on bosses as well as I would like it to, or enemies. You have to press and hold, and it should be a I do it the moment I hit contact. I can let go of the button, and it should auto carry you through the movement, like just complete. But it doesn't. It makes you hold on to it for far too long. As far as when you're in a tense, quick reaction situation, I want to execute that and have it complete the execution, not have me hold it for that extra fraction of a second to fulfill that distance. Because that's what I needed in order to help defeat the boss that you had a problem with. That kind of broke you on that one because you have multiple um, arms coming at you,
Yeah.
and it requires you to uh, you have to time the blink move properly so you don't get hit. And a lot of it's running from one side of if you play the long game, because it's not very hard the pattern movement, but at the same time the controls don't feel comfortable enough to make you execute well, but
Mhm.
you kind of know what you have to do. So it's just instead of doing a lot of big hit combos, it's just a lot of small hits and just drawing out the battle. There's a couple bosses like that
Yeah.
where I'm running from one side of the screen to the other, and then you jump, you whip, you're pulling yourself to the main guy, you're doing a couple hits, running to the other side of the screen, just back and forth, and it's not that great. It's just like I'm just gonna just bang my head against this quickly, beat the boss in that particular one that has a couple minute walk time
Mhm.
to it. And the way I was loading out my person, I didn't have any health regen. So, but as I was making my way there, you have to go across a couple mob enemies, and every now and then I'd get hit, and that means I'd have to then run back to the safe spot, save again, so I'd re increase go back to full health, and then make the run again. Um, at least the one thing I'll give it is right before the boss room, there is a currency conversion. So those little mob characters you're getting, at least you can convert the currency into the hard currency that you don't lose. I'm like, that's the only caveat. I'm like, the rest of it sucks. And I think that's the other bit is the pacing of the story itself. So there are actual story elements, or they're trying to give you story elements, like when your character is quote unquote birthed. They're coming out of their AI consciousness into a physical, shell, and every time you get upgrades, it's trying to talk to you and tell you a little story. It's doing it via text, but there is dialogue in this game. And that's
Oh.
the weird part is why wasn't it just spoken? It could have been spoken. You could still have the text up there, but speak instead because as you're going through these upgrades, it wants you to go through a little mini, um, like retro, Nintendo version, like, or 8-bit version map. It's even less than that. It's probably like a 4-bit, but like you're going through trying to use the new skill, whether it be the whip hairpin, whether it be it's the blink, whether it be it's the glide feature, and you're doing this little platforming bit while it's having text in the background.
Yeah.
And you just end up ignoring the text to complete the little map.
Or
So
dying to read the text and then waiting for it to be done and then actually trying to complete it finally. Yeah.
yes, and that's why it's just like it's kind of a big fail on their part because you can't get the story. Uh, there's not a lot of collecting items, but some of the store like they try to give you a little flavor text of what's going on the ship, different journals, different logs, and it's honestly, it's not terribly interesting. I finally found one of the components to the ship, the eye,
Yeah.
and that one spoke to you. I'm like, okay, great. That has a little dialogue, and I believe there's a there's a gimmick, with Metroidvania games to get the true ending, because you generally most of these games will have a false ending and a true ending, and I'm pretty sure the gimmick to this is to collect candles for like a memorial
Hmm.
for the eye, and because I found one, and I'm like, sure enough, because I'm like, I'm guaranteed this has to go up there, and because there's platforms and like or certain holsters for the candle. And sure enough, I talked to him, and then the next thing you know, there's a candle up there. I'm like, I did a quick count. I'm like, there's like 8 or something like that. I'm like, oh, don't tell me I have to get all of them because that just seems way too long. I found candle number 2. Haven't made my way back to the eye yet, but then I looked where those inventory slots were because I'm like, okay, cool. This unless if they stack on top of each other, which they possibly can. I don't know, but I'm hoping you don't have to because there's only 3 slots. 2 of them I have 2 candles, so I'm hoping that the last slot empty is it, and I'm like, "If you only need 3 candles, I'll be happy," but something tells me you're gonna need more. And this game is just too dang long for what it's trying to do.
Yeah.
It's I mean, that's the thing, that's the key takeaway. It's unfortunately if you're gonna play a different Metroidvania style game, if you want the difficulty spike to it, if you want then play Nine Souls, play the Prince of Persia, um,
Yeah. The Prince of
game.
Persia game is the Prince of Persia. What's it called?
Uh, it was there's the new one which I keep on getting. That's why I keep on getting them confused because the new one is I think it's Rogue, um, and so
Okay.
the last one was Lost Crown, I believe.
That was it, Lost Crown. Yeah, that one I saw. So I've heard a lot of different things and saw like a retrospective on it and stuff like that. Is like that's like a modern gem of a game. If ever I've seen one. I didn't get a chance to play that, but you've talked about up that game, say it's really good, and then I played a significant amount of Nine Souls. That is its own kind of hard and ridiculous, but it's also really good. I mean, there is an easy setting in this Mio game, or there's some different things you can do to make stuff easier, but it's like I don't want to gut the gameplay. I don't want to totally gut the gameplay just to get this story that I could watch on YouTube. Like, you
You
know?
know what? I forgot about those accessibility modes now that you mention it. Because there was like let the enemies retain damage, the bosses retain damage or something between
Yeah,
deaths.
yeah.
Um, and then I forget what there was a couple other uh settings, and I'm like, huh. But yeah, I
It just
completely
takes
forgot
a
that.
it just takes away any sense of accomplishment that you get. I mean, that's why like I really hate backing something down to like easy mode or whatever when I'm at, or even normal when I'm at a harder mode or whatever. It's just like, it just undermines what I'm trying to do. There are times when I've had to do that when it's like, got to get this game done, or whatever. And I'm just, the week's been bad. And I just need to cut through the BS. But, I just hate having to do that. And it just doesn't seem like the way that they intended it to be. So, yeah.
That's the for me. It's I remember when I was young, like in high school, I always like to try to increase everything to hard mode, or like whatever, just for the bragging rights. Or if there was only a few games that I had and I wanted to make it last longer, I'd go in the hard mode. Uh, but now I don't have the time for that, and I will play it on whatever default difficulty. That is generally my goal is to play it on default. Um, that is just my personal stance. I mean, I understand if some people, it's a difference between if you can physically do it or if you just don't want to. But I feel that there's like a sense of accomplishment in order to at least do it the way the developers originally wanted. Um, and if you're playing a game like a Souls like game, you come in expecting it to be difficult. That's fine.
Hmm.
Uh, but there should be a balance between the game. And for this, the pacing is all wrong.
Yes.
The movement to get from one side of the map to the other is too long. the certain areas you're exploring, there's like no safe spot, there's no quick travel, like at least the convenient spots, and that's the problem. By the time there's no way to recover your lost currency that you lose, but there's nothing to spend your currency on either. I keep on making my way all the way back to the merchant when I don't have to, or going out of my way to the merchant just to see if maybe if there's something updated after I beat a new boss and or discovered a new area. There hasn't been. Um, Chances are, I finally found someone who sells a particular something, a mysterious item for like 10K currency. Uh, I think I have like 5K right now. And there is one particular spot on the far east that there's like a enemy that drops like 80 to 90 currency, and there's a safe spot right there,
Yeah.
which now has become a quick travel point. So I'm like, part of me just wants to grind out the other 5K worth of currency just to buy that MacGuffin, just to see what's worth, like if it's worth anything. It might be a key item for the true ending. I'm hoping it's just a MacGuffin that tells me gives me item location, light up my map like a Christmas tree. I'm hoping it's that.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, this is going to be a boring event where I'm just gonna like put on a podcast, listen to that, and then just mindlessly
I just
grind.
I just don't know what, like, when they got through with the game, they had to know how many hours it was to beat. A general idea of what they had, and it's like, is this what you were going for when you planned the game? Like, were you going for, a 20-hour game? So when you ended up with a 20-hour game, were you like, okay, we're good? Or were you going for like a 15-hour game? Were you going for a 25-hour game or a 30-hour game? You ended up with this, and you're like, okay, well, it's like good enough. It's like, if it's 20 hours and you were going for 15, like, I feel like you got to seriously ask yourself if there's any way to cut it down and make the pacing better, like we've been talking about, because there definitely is. There's definitely save point here, save point there. Well, it doesn't make sense with the narrative. It's like, bro, no one gives a crap about your narrative if the game is irritating to play. Like, you you just there's some sacrifices that maybe needed to be made, and it's just one of those games that it's just a game that's like, But by the time we talk about it on Game of the Year, it's I don't imagine it's probably going to be the lowest game of the year, but it's definitely not. It's probably going to be the lower part of the middle of the pack, I would
Might be
imagine.
under disappointment because I came into it with high hopes. Uh,
Yeah.
so
Well, yeah.
all right, just so the way I look at this game, right now it's still rating really well. I mean, for PC, you're looking at like 83% for critics, 7.5 for fans, and I think a C rating, 7.5. I think that's fair. It does enough things right, but it doesn't do anything above average, right? It doesn't put itself um really out there. I think, and in comparison for time, I mean, you have Nine Souls, which how long to beat has it
30.
averaging 27 and a half,
Okay. Yeah.
32 for completionist. So that's at least, but Nine Souls has a much better pacing, much better reward system. There's better
The
loop, you
story
know.
is pretty good in Nine Souls too.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess that's the other thing is just like you need a progression loop. And that's, I guess, why I keep on going back to the store to try to buy stuff or try to, you want to see your character build up. You want to be able to progress a meter of some sort. Um, when you're looking at Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, uh, that one completionist is like 15 and a half hours. So, that is uh, it's not a Souls-like game, it's not, extremely hard. You have hard moments, but it's very different as far it's more traditional, Metroidvania, but still, once again, lots going on and lots to enjoy. I wish if you change their dodge mechanic to just a blink to an actual like blink dash,
Mhm.
that and then let your character move faster through the map, that would make the world a difference.
Mhm.
Um, I just I think that's it. It's just like it doesn't respect your time enough, and when it feels like a chore to go from one end to another, and especially if you're fighting a boss and you're like, okay, this I know I'm just gonna have to learn the boss's pattern, but when I have to run my way to said boss, um, you you just don't want to do it. It's just like after you die a couple times or something, and you're just like, all right, I'm just gonna put the controller down. Eventually, I've gotten to this new point where the map blew up in this little area. There's lots of little twists and turns. You can. It's probably not as complex as it seems. But when the first time through, you're like, okay, I'm riding these air currents and it's whipping me by these doorways. And like, oh, I missed that doorway, but I guess I'm going to the second one. All right, well, I have a branching path. Well, I'm gonna go here. And eventually it's like, well, now I hit a point of no return and it's pushing me forward. I'm like, well, now what am I supposed to do? Then eventually I found a new boss. I'm like, okay, I hadn't saved in who knows how long. To get here is gonna be a nightmare. And I just died at this boss and I lost like 500 something currency. I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I'm like, I put down my controller. I'm like, I am done for this moment. I am done with my run. I will come back to you later. I'm probably just gonna pull up a map. I'm just gonna pull up a map, tell me what I need to find, where I need to find it. That way I don't have to just wander aimlessly because I'm kind of done and tired of this.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's exactly how I'm tired of wasting my time trying to figure this out organically because the equipment you give me does not work. It does not let me find things comfortably at a decent pace. You should be giving upgrades, and who knows? Maybe you get to a certain point, and then boom, the market just explodes. But then you should
That's
have done
not
that earlier.
balanced. Yeah, yeah, that has to
Yeah,
be balanced out.
you should drip feed just enough to keep you entertained and keep you interested. If you, anyways, so I am done ranting about this game. Um, I might still play more of it. Like I said, I'm just what I should do is just look up to see what that 10K currency mystery item is to see if it's even worth my time.
Yeah.
But I also will probably just bang my head against it, grinding while I do something else in the background, and then regret my wasting my time.
That's the another dead pixel way. Yeah. Um, okay. Well, yeah. So it's too bad the game ended up being the way that it is. I mean, I guess it's probably why it didn't come out with a lot of fanfare and all that stuff. But I just remember seeing it and being like, okay, that piqued my interest, and it came out at a good time. There's like nothing else out, in the new year. I was playing stuff from last year, but as far as like brand new games, not a ton that came out whenever it did. So it got my money for basically that reason. Um, so yeah, I think that's probably all that we've got to say on it, though, right?
Yes. All right, guys. We're running late here, so we're just gonna probably end it right about here. So I know we haven't talked much about anime the last couple weeks, and I apologize. There's a growing list of things I'm gonna be talking about next time around,
It's We're
and
probably gonna spend a lot of time on anime next time because I've watched quite a bit of the same stuff. So we're gonna have even longer list next time. It's probably gonna talk about like maybe 10 anime, maybe not fully in depth, but like 10 anime next time, I think.
yeah, and we have some TV shows and some other things to talk about. And I'm not sure about the next major game isn't until Reanimal's on Friday, so I don't think we'll really have much time to play before we record.
No.
So all right. Well, anyways, guys, if you made it this far, we thank you. This has been ADP, Another Dead Pixel, episode 163. Uh, Nick, what are some words of wisdom you have for the people out there?
Um, you know, if you do have to show your movie outside of the gates of Cannes, you just want to make sure that well, I'll just give you a pro tip that they don't do a full cavity search. Um, every time you need to go to the bathroom.
All right. This is once again words of wisdom from Nick, the creator of Two Nicks and One Taco. All right. Until next time, this is ADP. Y'all take it easy.
Bye.